I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I want to show you a number of appearances that MAGA Republicans made in the various chambers in the Capitol building, as well as on the press, that just basically show how out of touch they absolutely are and how there is nothing normal about this, and it is pure gaslighting. The first clip I want to show you is Mitch McConnell, and Mitch McConnell is basically saying in this clip that all of the lefties are trying to create a big controversy over the fact that Clarence Thomas just took a vacation with his friend. Here, play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Now we've got the next raft of silly personal attacks. This time, the left and some of their media allies want the American people to gasp in horror, that one Supreme Court justice vacations with his friends, that another one sold his house when he moved, and that Chief Justice Roberts' wife has a career outside the home. The Democrats even tried to pressure Chief Justice Roberts to trade the Supreme Court for their kangaroo court and show up in person today to hear them grandstand. A totally inappropriate request, as the Chief's polite and facts-based reply made clear.
You know, when you sit as a judge and you're called the honorable so-and-so, when people stand up and rise, you're supposed to be honorable. I have no problem if people want to take vacations with their friends, if they're private citizens, or if they want to fly on private jets as private citizens. But when you are a Supreme Court justice, you are not supposed to have improper dealings and conflicts of interest, and you're supposed to make disclosures. You're supposed to be someone who is beyond reproach. You are not supposed to be someone who aids and abets corruption. And it is just sickening that it's so normalized. And look, in this hearing that took place during a Senate hearing, you even had this former attorney general from the George W. Bush administration. This is Michael Mukasey. And he's asked a question by Senator Ossoff, who basically goes, so I just want to get this straight. You wouldn't take these trips, would you? And watch what he says.
Enormously valuable. That was then obliterated because it was said that that created the appearance of conflict.
And Judge Mukasey, I'm not in any way questioning or even seeking to interrogate your personal conduct. What I'm asking you is that as a judge, is it fair to say that you most likely would have declined an offer of foreign travel worth hundreds of thousands of dollars because, quite reasonably, you would have had the concern that public disclosure of such travel could have undermined public confidence in the impartiality of your judgment?
Simply because it amounted to, if somebody took me, if I were a district judge and somebody wanted to fly me on his private plane on a vacation with his family and I were friendly with that person, would I have refused and endangered the friendship? I'm not sure that I would have.
Well, I think the American public sees that kind of conduct and quite reasonably asks the question whether it's appropriate.
I mean, could you be more out of touch with the American people? I mean, is it just when you're in these ivory towers and country clubs that he literally says, if it would actually hurt my friendship, then I'd probably take those trips and those vacations. It's a crime. It is illegal. It is not allowed. I mean, even if it wasn't a crime, which it is, the conflicts of interest are so obvious. And this is the former Republican Attorney General under Bush. And this is what they're talking about. Meanwhile, you have Ted Cruz and Donald Trump saying, you know who we should have more of on the bench? We should have more people just like Justice Clarence Thomas, who takes millions of dollars in luxury trips and gifts and just runs around the world with people who go before the judge and go before the court and just flaunt that in our faces. I mean, really? You think there should be more judges like that? Watch, this is what Donald Trump says. Play the clip.
My administration will again adopt rock-solid constitutional conservatives to be federal bench justices and judges, but in the mold of Antonin Scalia and Justice Clarence Thomas, who, by the way, right now is under siege by the radical left.
And this is what Ted Cruz says. Play the clip.
He's been one of the greatest Supreme Court justices ever to serve on the court. He has been a principled constitutionalist, and the left despises him. Democrats hate Justice Thomas, and they save a special degree of hate for him because he's a black man. And their view is an African American is not allowed to be a conservative, is not allowed to disagree with left-wing orthodoxy. You know, Justice Antonin Scalia, whom I knew well, was every bit as conservative as Justice Thomas. Mm-hmm. The left didn't heap that kind of contempt on Justice Scalia. Justice Thomas, they view as a traitor because he is African American and he's an extraordinary justice.
How disgusting.
And listen, the quote ethics complaints they're raising, every single Supreme Court justice, all 9 of them, take trips across the country, take trips internationally that are paid for by others. Mm-hmm. Many of the liberal icons, Ruth Bader Ginsburg took over 100 trips. Stephen Breyer took over 100 trips. Sonia Sotomayor took over 100 trips. And all of the media, all the Democrats who are attacking Justice Thomas, they don't care at all. They're not looking at any of the Democrat justices. They're not looking at any other judges. This is a political smear job directed at Clarence Thomas because he is an extraordinary constitutionalist and the left hates him for it.
Then have you seen this new poll? These are the top issues that the Republicans are focused on, according to this new CBS News poll. 2024 Republican nomination. This is what the likely GOP primary voters, the top answers. This is what they care most about in electing a leader for the United States of America. 85% of Republican primary voters, their main issue is to elect a leader who will challenge woke ideas. 85%, 66% who will oppose any gun restrictions, 61% that say Trump won in 2020, 57% who will say make liberals angry. That's their top criteria for who they want to nominate in leadership positions. I mean, has this country gone utterly mad? I mean, I understand that it is a small subset of the country, these MAGA Republicans, but being gaslit by the media to act like this is normal. Real Americans don't feel this way. This is absolute insanity. Here, I'll show you this clip from today. This is Senator Joni Ernst, MAGA Republican, and this is what she said. As she goes, oh, you know, the Department of Defense, the woke vehicles. Here, play this clip.
Instead of focusing on the lethality of our men and women in uniform, we've gone woke with our vehicles in the DOD.
How are we going to plug them all in? We can't even plug in stuff in the summertime in California, including the electric cars, and there are only 6% of them out on the road.
Harris, that is a great question, and I think most Americans would agree.
Anything they don't like is woke. This is on Fox, where they're talking about, again, what the GOP is focused on for their primary voters. The social issues of wokeism being the most important. Play the clip.
Well, you mentioned yesterday that Republicans lost independent voters. What can Republicans do to try to win them back? Is it going to be mainly the economy or some sort of combination between economy and the social issues of wokeism?
Well, I think you have to address everything. And
then you have the MAGA Republicans going on the news and talking about how they are ready to make America default on its debt if the Democrats do not agree to this MAGA Republican hostage-like bill in the House of Representatives that would just completely and utterly defund veterans, that would completely and utterly defund critical social programs and border agents and IRS agents and things that families actually rely on. Like 97% of all debt was created before President Biden was president. 25% of all of the debt was created created by Donald Trump. Those are the facts. And every single time before you pass a clean debt ceiling, you don't hold our nation hostage and try to put our nation into a Great Depression. If you don't agree to these far right-wing hostage demands to destroy our country, I mean, these people hate our country. I'm sorry, I'm angry. And I rarely raise my voice on these videos, but these MAGA Republicans want to destroy our country. It is a performative fascism with real consequences. Here's this idiot, MAGA Republican Roger Marshall, on Fox, Maria Bartiromo. She spews all the disinformation. She's even like, what are you talking about? Play the clip.
And I, again, just want to give the Republican-controlled House credit. Quite often in my town halls, folks criticize us. Why can't you Republicans stick together? Well, they stuck together. This is a much more responsible budget. Again, it's not perfect, but it does start reining in some of those wasted COVID dollars, work requirements. We don't touch Medicare. We don't touch Social Security. We don't touch veterans like we promised we wouldn't. So this is a good deal. If this would go on the Senate floor, I think it would pass.
You do?
I do. I do think that it would pass, not with 50 Democrats, but I think there'd be 30 or 40 Democrats that would pass it and 20 or 30 Republicans that would vote for it.
Wow. Let's talk about the...
Back to Mitch McConnell. This is Mitch McConnell basically saying, well, I think that we're just going to have to stand behind by Kevin McCarthy here, and there's nothing we can do here in the Senate. You're going to let the country default on its debt? Like, you literally, it's a constitutional responsibility that you don't happen. These people are traitors. Here, play this clip for Mitch McConnell.
There's a real prospect that they are unable to reach an agreement. You have, in these past standoffs, proposed inventive ways out of it. Are you ruling out getting involved at all if there's no...
Well, what I'm saying is the conditions for reaching an agreement change depending upon the nature of the bodies. Many people point back to 10 years ago when President Biden and I were involved in reaching an agreement. That was a different set of players than we have today. If you look at the House, what they accomplished was a surprise to everyone, given the various factions. They're having achieved an outcome. It should be clear to the administration that the Senate is not a relevant player this time. They have got to have a measure that can pass the House. How does it pass the House? It has to have the support of the Speaker, and I'm behind the Speaker.
Finally, I'll show you this clip. This is from Chuck Schumer, who's laying it out. And Chuck Schumer's like, so you're basically threatening that America defaults on its debt? Or the other alternative is basically have default on like what American families need and just like destroy American families.
You had said for months that House Republicans need to produce their plan. They did. You said that you didn't think they had the votes. They had the votes. You probably don't have 60 votes for a clean debt ceiling increase. So isn't it incumbent upon you and the White House to negotiate a deal with spending cuts to raise the debt ceiling?
These cuts, as we have pointed out, as our hearings will, are so draconian. The American people don't want them, and we cannot. These are not even cuts. And this is not a plan. This is a hard right-wing wish list that everyone knows has no chance of passing and puts the American people in. McCarthy's giving two choices, given his hard right and how he's caved into them. Either a plan that defaults on the debt or a plan that defaults on American families in a very, very severe way.
Meanwhile, the MAGA Republicans, they're happy to cut everything for you. They're happy to cut programs that you rely on. They're happy to take cuts from our veterans. They're happy to go after social programs that people need. But you know what? Billionaires, take your tax cuts on your private jets and your yachts. You don't need to pay taxes on that. It is outrageous, and we need to call it out and stop being gaslit by the media. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Spread the word. Show people what is going on. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers here. Check us out on audio wherever you get your audio podcast as well. Just search the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you get audio podcasts. And finally, check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Hit subscribe on our YouTube.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.